Welcome to a brand new series here on the channel. Speculation has always been a fun aspect of Smash Ultimate when it comes to predicting the next fighters, and as we're getting 6 more characters, that's a lot more speculation. But I don't have a real idea of who's getting in, so we're going to guess at something else. Each DLC character pack comes with a stage, music, and DLC spirits, which are often overlooked. In this fun speculative series, we'll come up with concept for spirit battles for major characters associated with potential DLC candidates. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Dark Souls, and potential battles that could come along and fighters to be added from this series. Let me know what characters you'd like to see on this series in the comments below, drop a like if you're down for some Dark Souls, and let's get into it. Now this episode is going to be a little bit different than the last one where we covered Halo spirits for Master Chief as a fighter. When it comes to Dark Souls, the potential fighter is a little bit more open-ended. Likely candidates in my opinions are Solaire, Ornstein, and Artorius. Because each of them has spirit potential if they aren't a fighter, I'm going to make a spirit battle for all 3 of them, so it doesn't matter which one gets in as a fighter, we have all options covered. Let me know which one of the 3 would be the coolest fighter if Dark Souls would be added in the Fighter's Best 2, in your opinion. And with that said, the spirits I've chosen for Dark Souls are Firekeeper, Bell Gargoyles, Seath the Scaleless, the 4 Kings, Bed of Chaos, Gravelord Nito, Gwyn Lord of Cinder, Ornstein and Smo, Solaire, and Artorius of the Abyss. The Firekeeper spirit battle will be represented by a Zelda. When it comes to Dark Souls, the Firekeeper is pretty weak and can get killed by Lautrec during the game's plot, but lore-wise, Firekeepers play a very important part in the story, in the lore, and gameplay mechanics. They help you out by reinforcing your Estus Flasks, which is a healing item. With healing items in mind, this spirit can continuously heal themselves throughout the fight. Losing percent slows you even as you attack it. It's making it harder to KO over time, unless you do like a really fast combo and then a smash attack to take them out really fast. It should be a novice level spirit, like pretty easy, and I think Castle Siege would be a good stage to fight the Firekeeper on, as the kind of forest and mountains in the background somewhat resemble Firelink Shrine. It's like the closest we got. The Bell Gargoyles are the first main boss in Dark Souls as they guard the first Bell of Awakening, which is necessary to progress in the game, unless you're a wild speedrunner. They'd easily be represented by 2 Ridleys, and these 2 Ridleys could have different gimmicks, so they're both a little different like the Gargoyles themselves. One can be equipped with a spicy curry and prefer to use the neutral B fire attack that Ridley has, so you get burnt to a crisp, like you're fighting the actual boss on top of the Undead Church in Dark Souls. And the other one could potentially be equipped with a melee weapon, as the Gargoyles in Dark Souls bash you with an axe. It doesn't need a melee weapon, as Ridley's tail moves would also work just fine. Overall, this seems like a really fun spirit battle that would also likely take place on Castle Siege, and would be about an advanced class spirit difficulty. We'll cover the 4 Lord Souls in a moment, as they're all very important bosses and then very important spirits. But first we should take a look at the final boss of the game, Lord Gwyn. Gwyn is the Lord of the Cinder, and can be perfectly represented as a spirit by Roy, as they both share swords of fire. Simply making the spirit be giant, and perhaps even making this Roy have more sword damage, would make Roy resemble Gwyn, as Gwyn is quite tall. When using spirits to show these concepts, I can never get a fully accurate representation of my idea or the concept itself, due to differing mechanics for the actual spirit battles and like World of Light and the Spirit Board versus the spirit battles you do when you equip a spirit as a player and even put them on a CPU. And this is a prime example, as he doesn't remain giant for the whole battle, but in a real spirit battle, the Roy would stay giant for the entire duration, keeping the difficulty up for the entire fight. And this would be about an ace spirit. It can be fought in the Fire Emblem Arena. I don't know the exact name of it, but it kind of resembles the Kiln of the First Flame. Ornstein and Smo aren't Lord Souls, but they're the real trial to see if you're going to beat Dark Souls or not. The 2 Bells and Sin's Fortress are pretty much just tutorials, and the game really starts at Anor Londo. These 2 bosses are iconic, and would honestly be great as a boss in Smash, like the same way that Dracula and Rathalos are, and I've always said that. However, Spirit Battle would be dope, and it'd be a double battle of course. I've chosen Byleth and King DDD to represent these 2 characters. Byleth represents Ornstein because of the incredibly long range on her forward smash and forward aerial. It isn't a spirit that she uses, it's more like a halberd, but it's close enough, and if it was a real spirit battle, it could be programmed to favor these moves, so that Ornstein would really only use forward smash on the forward aerial, and not like other moves like the bow, because Ornstein doesn't have a bow. Smo is represented by King Dedede, and it's a pretty perfect match, as they're both thick, they both use a big hammer, And Smo, like, he actually even has a jump attack where he jumps into the air and falls down, which is very similar to DDD's up B. The DDD could be made giant for even to be even bigger and even thicker, and do even more damage. And this would be a really high class bout. Legend Spirit difficulty for sure. I think you fight them on Kalos because it's a cathedral very similar to the Anor Londo castle. Seath the Scaleless has some really interesting lore, but at his core, he's just a white dragon, and for that reason, he'll be represented by Charizard in Smash. Seath's gimmick in Dark Souls is that he's immortal and he has his crystal, and he can't physically be damaged until his crystal is broken. To represent that in a Smash Spirit battle, Seath should start with invincibility, and that way he can rack up a lot of percent on you before you can even touch him, ideally making the fight a little bit tricky and about an ace spirit level. But outside of being a dragon, he's kind of hard to represent as Charizard, and I guess Ridley was another one I was thinking. They both use fire, and they don't really have crystal moves, and Seath is known for crystals. Not crystal meth, just crystals. I couldn't think of a stage, but Byleth's stage, the Fire Emblem Monastery, it kind of resembles the Duke's Archives, so we'll go with that stage for now. The Bed of Chaos is such a really weird boss in Dark Souls, but it's a Lord Soul, and I feel like all of the Lord Souls should be spirits, as they're pivotal moments of progression. The Bed of Chaos is kind of like a tree or a plant or something, but when you actually do damage to it to defeat the boss, it's like these little bug things, I think. It's like the side of like the tree roots. So this spirit battle will be a crazy, a little bit kind of unconventional. You'll have two giant piranha plants, which will attack you with their various moves like the Poison Fog and the Down B stretch thing. Kind of bite you, you know, kind of like Planty. But killing them is irrelevant. To win, and to win instantly, you have to beat a tiny Game & Watch who would be coded to flee if it was a real spirit battle, so he would run around and avoid you. And to show this concept in its full form, I can't really do it because it's hard to set up spirits, but the floor could also be made of fire, forcing you to equip spirits of your own to prevent being burnt to death while trying to hunt this Game & Watch down and win the fight. An ace spirit class battle on Norfair. The Four Kings are another Lord Soul, and I think Marth in Fire Emblem, I'm pretty sure he's a king. Either way, his sword moveset works fine for the Four Kings, and I think this would be a gauntlet spirit battle. I can't set it up to where after you kill one Marth, another one comes because of how the game works, but you can just imagine how that works because if you played World of Light or Spirit Board, you know that there's like these kind of gauntlet battles in Spirit mode. And I think that would represent the Four Kings well because in Dark Souls, if you're fast enough and you kill the first king, the second king doesn't really appear until after you kill the first one, but if you were kind of slow, they kind of overwhelm you. But as long as you're fast, it's pretty much just a gauntlet. I set this Marth to 4 stocks to kind of show this concept in action, so I have 4 stocks too, but in a real battle, you'd only have 1, and there'd be 4 of them, so it's a gauntlet. This is a pretty simple fight outside of the gauntlet aspect, so maybe advanced difficulty perhaps. I'm picking the DK stage with the black background, because there's no real map that emulates like the Void, but the black background kind of emulates the Four Kings boss battle. I'm picking the DK stage with the black background because there's no good other stage that emulates the Dark Void as well as this one. Nito is the final Lord Soul, and there isn't really a skeleton in Smash. And as this man is the Grave Lord himself, he'd have to be represented by an undead or skeleton, like he would just have to. I know Sans is DLC, but I don't think I can use DLC to represent spirits because not everyone has DLC, and I don't even know how they do spirits in DLC like that. But I guess if this were to be a clause that we would use in the future, I've already failed it in this video by making Byleth the orange scene, so we're going to break it again, and a me with a Sans head. Holding Death Sight would be the best way to represent Nito, I think, which is kind of funny. Giving the floor a poison effect, so you constantly rack up percent while you fight the boss, would make the fight ideal, and kind of somewhat similar because Nito has like these area of effect kind of poison moves. It'd be about an advanced level, not too hard, and I think the Bryn Star map would be a great stage as it's dark and underground like Nito's boss arena. And we get my favorite up right now, Artorius of the Abyss, the titular character of the Dark Souls DLC, an important character in the game's general lore as the Knight of Gwyn. He's a big man, and he's got a big sword, so he'd be represented by none other than Ike. Slap on spirits to make this Ike do more sword damage, maybe even stronger special moves, and while he doesn't move around just like how Artorius says, he'd pack a very similar punch and would end your life quickly. I know Ike is really easy to edgeguard if you have a counter, but if you don't have a counter, you'd probably be toast, and this Ike would slap you around silly. So this fight is perfect to be set up on the Fire Emblem Coliseum stage as you fight Artorius in a Coliseum in Ulasil, and this would be an ace spirit level. Last but not least, we have Solaire, the most likely character, in my opinion, to get in as a fighter if Dark Souls were to get in, even though Artorius would personally be the one I want the most. I was debating between picking Robin or Hero to be the spirit battle for Solaire, as Robin has Arc Thunder, which is very similar to Lightning Spear, and uses like a lightning sword. Hero has more magic moves, which Solaire doesn't really do, and I know Robin uses magic as well. The Hero does have his Side B, which is a thunder move, and Hero has a shield. Solaire has a shield, Robin doesn't. So there's arguments to be made for whether Solaire should be either one, but I don't really know. But Solaire the spirit battle would be fought on Norfair because it's a very lava-y map, kind of just like Lost Isle in Dark Souls, and that's where you fight him in Dark Souls if you don't save him during his arc. So that's all the spirit concepts for this video, which feature Dark Souls. This is the second episode of my new speculation series, and we just recently did Halo. So check that out if you want Master Chief in Smash. More of these types of videos will be coming up in the next few weeks, so subscribe for more Smash Ultimate content, and let me know in a comment which series or fighters you'd like to see possible spirits for here on the channel. With that all said, I've been Morton's Castle, and I hope to see you around.